Everybody ready?
Yep. Let's go.
Lothra, Lothcat, Lothwolf, run. Pick a path, and all is done.
For Midwest Guys presents Star Wars Rebels HQ.
Continue to allow this war to be fought on the Empire's terms. You are going to lose.
All paths are coming together now.
As long as we're together, we've got a chance.
At least we'll go down fighting. It's time to get to work.
Your TIE Defender is at risk. Krennic has been quite persuasive about his own project, Stardust.
Ezra, it's not whether or not we fight.
It's how we choose to fight that matters. I know, Kanan.
We were meant to be Jedi so we could be here now when Lothal needs us most.
All the paths are coming together, right?
I'm just not sure if we're going to like where they lead.
But we never imagined it would end like this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Star Wars Rebels HQ. Today we'll be reviewing the Season 4 Trailer 2 / a Season 4 preview kind of show. With me here today to help me do that is Mr. Brian Ekebar.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
What's going on, B?
Not much, man.
And my brother, Aaron.
Hey, man.
What's going on, dude?
Yeah, not a lot.
Not a lot. All right, guys, so they released on Monday, they'll be releasing Season 4, the start of the final season of Star Wars Rebels. So to get us ready for that, I kind of started this a while ago as a trailer for, or the second trailer review, which they released about a month ago or so, and it's kind of evolved more into a Season 4 preview show. It's kind of one of those things when you start with one thing and you end up with something different. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid of both, and kind of just using the trailer, certain points from the trailer to kind of talk about what we think Season 4 is going to be about and how it might go. So with that in mind, let's get started. Ezra hears voices right off the bat with the start of this. It kind of opens with Ezra hearing all of the rebels, and then he kind of wakes up, but the people that he hears, it's like clips from the past 3 seasons of of Zeb, of Sabine, of Hera, of Kanan.
I mean, is that hearing voices or is that just remembering things?
Well, I think it's kind of maybe both. It's kind of a maybe like a journey he's been on so far. Maybe he's kind of, it's all up in his head.
Just give a highlight of the past leading up to this moment.
Up to this moment, because this season really feels kind of like Journey's End, right? Like he's been on the path of the Jedi and whatnot.
Well, I mean, technically this will be the last season for Rebels, so
yeah, so
kind of is.
They still got a lot to tie up too, and we'll see how they do with that. So.
Well, yeah, it's also a question of how they tie it up, right?
Yeah, well that's the other part, right? So it's
Tied up, tied in.
Tied end, or they can leave it loose ended, or what's going to happen. So next part of the trailer is Lothcat, Lothwolf, Lothwolf run, pick a path, and all is done. Apparently a tongue twister for me. But yeah, this kind of sounds kind of like a prophecy, kind of, sort of, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a children's tale that they were told, back in the day. It also, isn't this a spot where they show the writings, the cave writings?
Yeah, he's looking at like ancient writings on the wall. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Aaron, what do you think about this? It's almost like a spell in a fairy tale book or something.
I mean, sort of, but it also is playing into like symbols you've seen throughout the series, because we've seen the Lothcat almost being representative of Ezra in the past. Mm-hmm. And then kind of tying into that, we've also seen, the symbolism with the one birds. I can't quite remember the names.
Oh yes, I've forgotten. I'll have to look that back up. I can't believe I've forgotten it. But yeah. So
I mean, we've definitely seen symbolism with animals on Lothal, almost being representative of characters, and sometimes.
In fact, this whole series has been very heavy on like animal, symbolism, and Ezra connecting with them and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, even if you look at like his abilities, he seems to connect to like other animals in some ways better than we've seen many other Jedi.
Oh yeah,
or he seems to use the ability more than other Jedi. He chose to.
He definitely does. Do you guys think maybe this is like Ezra's path to maybe either Jedi knighthood or maybe the dark side, maybe the Sith
Either that, or it could be maybe finding his own place in the Force. Because you look at how they've shown the Force use in this series, and we've seen alternative interpretations of it. Like you look at Zeb's people's like interpretation of it, and it's very different. So this could be almost an interpretation that's very almost local to Lothal.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I from watching this, and I think we're going to actually see Ezra in one of the new movies, like a real life version of Ezra,
right?
Like an older version of himself. I think Ezra's taking his own path. We even hear in part of this, he even says, maybe we weren't doing it the right way.
Oh, when he's talking to Kanan, talking about it's not just important like what you fight, but how you do it.
Which is
right.
Which is Yoda's.
Right, and he's like, maybe we didn't do it the right way. So, and he's got that pirate history with him. I'm almost thinking that he uses his Force abilities and goes off on his own as the series ends. That's why we don't see him in all the other movies. We're like, how have we not seen Ezra in all these other movies?
He chose not to be a Jedi. He became a pirate.
Yeah, so like he becomes like a pirate-esque type character, a shady character. You know what I mean? Like, but he can wield the Force and use it how he wants to use it when he wants to use it.
Uses it very loosely,
or he becomes like an animal trafficker or something. And he can control the animals and.
There you go.
I mean, that seems very weird for a character that tends to like connect emotionally to the animals like he's communicating with them.
Do you guys... It could also be taken very ominously as well, like their fate is sealed. Do you guys get that feeling? Like,
Well, the end of the series is...
Right, I get that, but I mean, like for the characters themselves, it almost...
There are some lines that hint at it. Like, you have the line, pretty much the Empire is already winning a war that most of the rebels haven't even started yet.
Yeah, it hasn't even started, yeah. It just makes me... I don't know, it could be a progress... I like to think positively and think that it's part of his progression through Jedi. In fact, I think it even says Loth Rat, Loth Cat, Loth Wolf Run, I think, actually. I think I left out a part, I think, doesn't it? I can't remember now. But if that's the case, then it definitely shows maybe his progression. He's a street rat, then he becomes, like a cat, and he's growing in the Force, and then suddenly he's, full on...
The big bad wolf.
The big bad wolf, so to speak. Or a wolf, Okay, so another part in the trailer is we see some Star Destroyers kind of docked at a planet with domes, and Sabine and the Jedi kind of work, and Kanan and Ezra, I guess I should say, kind of working together with other Mandalorians. And I'm wondering, what planet is this? I don't remember from Clone Wars Mandalore looking like this. I don't remember it having domes, and it was very open, I guess. So.
At this point, though, we have Mandalorians kind of scattered across almost dozens of planets, don't we?
Yeah, I just thought that they were going to go to the actual Mandalore, which is the capital planet of the whole Mandalore.
Well, it could be that it's more a symbolic capital at this point.
Right.
But like many of the military bases that you would be most important to strike might be on other planets.
So like a strategic point, maybe, military capital.
And I think if we were looking at past season previews, this is probably only going to cover maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure this is the first 2.
Yeah, because I think last season I was actually really surprised by how quickly we went through the first trailer.
It's
it seemed we pretty much by the time you hit episode 4, you pretty much saw all of the trailer before it began.
And what the other thing is, they're moving really quick because we're not only going to get, I think a shorter season, which I'm still trying to find out if it's going to be 16 or 22 episodes, but right off the bat, the first all the way up until they go on break. For what they always do in the middle of the season, we're going to get 2 episodes per week.
Yeah.
So on the same day.
So pretty much hour-long specials.
They'll be back to back. So we're going to get an hour each, and they're going to be related, I think. So they're like small episode arcs.
I think most of the time we've seen the hour-long episodes. It's for bigger events like the season endings or mid-season finales where you really have those big kind of arcs. Right.
So I'm really excited that we're going to get, this is what I've been...
Well, the funny thing is about that, though, is that if they are doing like 2 episodes a week for like the first couple weeks, that's pretty much your 4 episodes down 2 weeks in.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, even if it is the normal amount of episodes, they do that like 2 more times after that for the mid-season season finale.
Yeah,
and like it's still going to be a short run for the season.
Well, sure, yeah, and it'll be a lot, just be a lot in a shorter span. But I'm looking forward to it. So, but anyway, getting back to the whole Mandalore thing, it looks like they're also on the Fen Rao. Looks like he's also fighting with them again. So that's the guy from the Concord Dawn former leader of the Concord Dawn.
Yeah.
Now all dead except for him. And they go into like this hangar on here, and it looks like a Star Destroyer hangar, maybe a weapons depot for the Empire.
It does seem like a weapons depot thing, because we do see some other like not quite walkers, but like some smaller vehicles sort of thing. They have the interesting like shocking thing.
Yes, there's a that transitions right to another scene I want to talk about, which is they've got this new AT DP Walker, I think, ATDP, which was the smaller walker like we saw in Return of the Jedi in the Battle of Endor Forest, and but this one has been highly modified.
Yeah, it actually has a pretty unique weapon. Like it's like I think there was another clip we watched that wasn't quite the trailer where you actually see a bunch of stormtroopers getting hit with it.
Yeah,
and from off screen it almost looks like a Force lightning attack.
It does look like very much like a Force lightning attack, and it's I think they're using like static electricity, I guess, if you want to put any science behind it. I don't know, but it makes me wonder if it disintegrates, and it's not actually stormtroopers. It's hitting Mandos.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
and it's disintegrating them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I think in the trailer it mentions Thrawn having like a weapons program outside of the main Death Star one.
Yep.
So essentially, this could be a smaller variant of his, mega weapon, his Doomsday Machine thing.
It could be, and that also makes me wonder if this is one of those terrible weapons that Sabine helped design that we heard about last season. She went on about and said, I created all these weapons, and they turned them and they used them against us.
That'd be an interesting plot twist for the kind of wrap everything together, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think if it would give any reason why she'd want to go into a hangar to find something, and this might be her reasoning, as they're using her weapons against her own people in this civil war against the Empire, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Brian, any other? I'm sorry, I should have included you.
No, I'm just right along with you. I completely agree with you.
Okay. Other thing we see in this trailer is the return of Bo-Katan. You guys have heard me talk about this in my Star Wars fan theories last season, when I thought, and it could still happen that this is actually Sabine's real mother, and that she's actually Mandalore.
It seems unlikely at this point.
It's becoming very unlikely at this point. It's more of like a 5% chance now. But just to review for those of you from the Clone Wars, she is the sister of Duchess Satine, and she's also who was Obi-Wan's love interest in the Clone Wars. She's a former member of Death Watch. She was actually rebelling against her own sister. They were once allied themselves with Darth Maul before Darth Maul turned on them and took control of their, briefly anyway,
it was back when Darth Maul had the Darksaber.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was actually a pretty badass arc, actually.
Yeah, I got to admit, this was the Darksaber was actually George Lucas, one of his ideas. It's a pretty cool idea, really. Yeah. What they've done with it, even beyond that, is even
like cooler. Making it a symbol for the entire race
of Mandos. That it's something to unite behind, and we do see her in some of these scenes, and she has the Darksaber. So I wonder if she's just temporarily holding it, or because we also see scenes with Sabine holding it. But I wonder if at some point Sabine passes it on to Bo-Katan, and she's the one that, she says she's going to choose a leader for Mandalore. It's not going to be her, but she'll choose somebody to lead. So I wonder if she's the one that she passes it to.
It's a possibility, or it could be someone that she is aware of, sort of thing. Like it could just be her examining the Darksaber, authenticating it, sort of thing.
Yeah, she seems to be using it in battle. Brian, what do you think?
Well, I think it's actually like what you just said. I think she's going to pick her to be the royal of the Mandalore. You know what I'm saying? To be the ruler,
right?
Because I think Sabine is going to choose to go with the rebels as her family as opposed to
fighting with the
Mandalores. That's why like she's gonna have to come. There's gonna be a time where she has to choose between going with the Mandalores or going with her family of Ezra and everybody, and she's gonna choose to go with Ezra to be part of the bigger picture to get to avenge them using her weapons and everything else.
Yeah, that's a good point. Could very well happen. One of the other things I drew out from this trailer, it's kind of a moot. It's very, you don't hardly see it. You see it for a brief second, but if you look at one of the scenes, they got some Star Destroyers, and you know how they always hover around Mandalore. If you or around Lothal, if you look at the picture of that scene, you look in the back and you see Lothal is no longer the pristine blue and green Earth-like.
Much more desert-like.
You can see there's like purple and red and looks like smoke, and so it's being ravaged by the Empire. So I wonder if this is going to be this kind of distress that's playing out on Lothal is going to draw the rebels back to Lothal, number one, and I wonder if it'll maybe play on the emotions of Ezra to maybe once again dive to the dark side. I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
I don't know if it's going to drive him to the dark side, but I can definitely see it driving him back to Lothal.
Yeah.
I mean, we heard in the trailer, he even said, we promised my people we'd come back to help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can already see that's where it's going to go, and obviously there's got to be something happening there for him to say that, because if there was nothing really going on, it's...
Right.
Why do you have to go back to save your people if there's nothing going on there?
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, once you go back to the scenes of the Lothal Cat and Lothal Wolf, it's clearly taking place on Lothal.
Right. Do you think that, not to keep throwing the ominous thing out, but do you think that this might be, eventually be the final battle for Rebels will be on Lothal, and it could maybe contribute to them, being caught up in maybe a few of the characters, biting the big one, so to speak?
Maybe. It really just depends on what they want to do with it. Like, you could see certain characters die off. You could see everyone die off, like you see in
Rogue One.
Yeah. Or it could just be everyone just escapes and you maybe see them picked up or like in a series down the line.
Okay.
See, that's why this season's hard for me, knowing that this is gonna be the last season and knowing that it ties into Rogue One.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting because you see Saul Guerrero in the trailer quite a bit, and you actually see him like almost pre-prosthetic still.
Yeah, so that's.
So it actually could be that in Rogue One they mentioned him being like going to an extreme lengths that the rest of the Rebel Alliance didn't like agree with, but it actually seems like it could be the Rebels we're used to. That is the extreme link.
Well,
that he's actually being a part of,
and I think we'll find out. This season. It's actually later in the notes. You're way.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. You're always thinking like I am. But yeah, I think we're going to find out lots of questions when it comes to Saul.
Yeah, so. I think that actually might be one of the better aspects of the season. It seems like that's definitely going to kind of answer some questions from Rogue One that you don't really see kind of played out so far. Yeah,
they've already fleshed him out a little bit, and I mean, we really don't like him because he is such an extremist so far, but we'll see just how far he goes and, what happens. And again, we might as well just go ahead and talk about it because we're talking about it. What happens to get him in that junk version of Darth Vader-like suit?
Yeah.
What is the traumatic thing? What kind of wreckage is he in?
Well, not just that, but to what extremes did he go to where even the rest of the Rebel Alliance just started viewing him as an extremist? Yeah,
that's exactly. At some point, we're going to see the formation, I think, more of the Alliance, and then we're going to see how extreme he does, and we're going to see, I think Mon Mothma even, it's in the notes, but that, he's caused them a lot of problems, and that's why
he's clearly trying to initiate a fight before they want to.
Right.
Like, they're trying to, prepare their units and, set the stage. Yep. He's trying to charge in, essentially. Or at least that's how it seems in the trailer.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, so we'll see. There is a interesting shot, and I thought this was just interesting that they found looks like the Rebels are scouting out against an Imperial air base with some TIE fighters and some TIE fighter interceptors on them, which is the ones with the kind of look like triangle pointed. We see them in Return of the Jedi. So when they made their debut, I believe. So it's just
essentially it existed years before we really saw it in the films.
yeah, exactly, and they're just kind of tying it all together. And,
Yeah. Well, the show's been good for tying in like the weapons and ships and such.
and it looks to be on Lothal, so there's confirmation that they are going to be on Lothal at some point. I wonder if if this is a base that has TIE defenders on it, because that's the big thing. That's Thrawn's big thing this season.
Yeah.
Or has been.
Is that Jar Jar Binks?
No, you talking about over here, off right here? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think so. I hope not. Misa back. But yeah,
It looks
I
like
feel like the cast and crew of Rebels would be smart enough not to do that without including it in a more joking manner.
Don't think Disney would allow it actually. But I wonder if this whole scouting it out for a possible attack, or maybe they're going to steal a TIE defender. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Try to see them doing something like that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be too far off from things we've seen in the past, so it's definitely doable.
Yeah. Then we already talked about it, but the return of Saul Guerrero.
Who already looks a little older than the last time we saw him. Weirdly.
Yeah, he didn't have the beard, so now he's in a beard kind of thing kicking.
And when he talks in this, you can tell what Mon Mothra talks about. Like, he causes problems. You can tell he has a different viewpoint, because he even says, and you have it in the notes here, that you can run Mothma's errands, or you can do something that actually matters.
Exactly. So he's already put in a division with Ezra, or he's trying to. I think we're going to hear a lot more talk about the Rebel Alliance not being ready for open warfare, okay, like we saw in Rogue One in last season. And for me, that's like I said, I don't like that side of it, because it's just the mental picture. Like I've said in past podcasts that I've always had the Rebel Alliances, always call to action, always fighting the Empire. But apparently that's not how they started. They were doing a bunch of political bickering amongst themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think it's meant to add some depth or realism to the movement, because it's unlikely to be completely unified from the get-go.
Yeah, it is. It's just it
breaks the fantasy.
It breaks the childhood fantasy. So, yeah, we already talked about the Vader. Maybe seeing how he's going to become the Vader in the Vader suit. Another thing from this trailer we get is we find out that there's a competition. Looks like there's some sort of a competition for Imperial resources, because we hear Tarkin talking to Thrawn about the TIE Defender may be in trouble and might lose out to Krennic's Stardust program, aka the Death Star, from Rogue One. So we're getting Rogue One connections, or Rogue One Easter eggs, obviously. Do you guys think we might see Krennic this year? Or
If
do you
we
think
do,
it'll be
it'd be
off to the
Creed.
side? Yeah.
There might be a cameo.
All right,
But I
Brian.
wouldn't expect it to be
Yeah.
central.
Yeah, I would say it might be a cameo, or it might just be in passing.
Yeah.
Like one of those, like, getting called into the principal's office and you see Krennic walking out and Thrawn walks in. Something like that. They pass.
Okay, very cool. Do you think we're going to see maybe Death Star construction, or evidence of Death Star construction? Do you think they're going to start to see more?
Yeah, I think we will.
Like finding more Easter eggs or proof that
I think we've already seen it a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see it on a larger scale, or you see more examples of it.
Do you believe that this also made me think? Do you think Thrawn's lost some favor with the Emperor because his victory wasn't totally complete at Adelon at the end of last season? Like, they didn't get all the rebels. I mean,
Possibly.
he was successful in stopping an attack, but he wasn't total victory per se.
Yeah,
It wasn't-
But he's not really connected to the Emperor, right?
Oh, he is.
I thought he was connected to Tarkin.
Well, he reports to Tarkin, but
That's
I mean,
what I'm saying. So he reports to Tarkin, so he's a Tarkin.
yeah.
So he's not really directed at the Emperor.
But I think he's a big enough wig that the Emperor knows who he is, and if he sees he led the attack and he failed to get complete objective.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know. So it just makes me wonder if what's going on politically because all of a sudden you got Tarkin saying, well, Krennic's over here, and the Emperor's really wanting to put a lot of resources, so we may not be able to complete your TIE Defender project or build a lot of them.
Yeah.
What's another thing that doesn't make much sense to me? The Emperor can foresee stuff. Why would he ever even worry about his stuff and just go straight with the Death Star?
I don't know. Maybe he can't see. I don't. I would think that he can only see so much through the dark side.
That's just too big. You can't see it.
Well, the Force is. I would think that the Force itself would, at some point, because they've become so powerful that and the Force is always trying to balance itself out. That maybe
it's Force blocked.
Yeah, kind of, or that he can't see everything. Obviously he gets Jedi wrong. Even Luke says overconfidence is your weakness. Your faith in your friends is yours. Also, at the end of last season, we saw the Bendu, kind of give a prophecy about Thrawn's defeat. He goes, "I see your defeat like many arms in a cold embrace." Do you think we'll see that affect Thrawn in any way, shape, or form?
I think we'll see that in this.
You think by the end of the season?
I think we will see the defeat of Thrawn in this series.
Okay.
Right before we get into right before it kicks into Rogue One or whatever,
okay.
We're going to see the defeat of Thrawn in this.
Okay.
Because we don't see Thrawn in any of the other episodes. We didn't see Thrawn in Rogue One, which is what this is leading up to be.
Right. Okay. Aaron, do you think it's going to have any kind of effect on Thrawn?
Oh, I actually definitely think it will. I think if he essentially met a Force entity, I think that's going to affect how he views things and sees things to a certain extent. To what extent that's going to be played out on screen, it's hard to say. But okay. I think it will be to a certain extent.
Okay, that's fair. Moving on, another thing we see in this trailer is a character called Rook. At least that's how I've always said it. He is actually kind of like Thrawn's bodyguard / assassin / muscle / stalker. He's always kind of like Thrawn.
He's like a bounty hunter.
He kind of, yeah. He kind of is, in a way. He's very creepy. In the EU books, and I think and even some of the comics, I think he even he goes around stalking Imperial officers just to keep his skills sharp. He's that kind of. He's almost like he's a reptilian. In the comics, he's a lot more reptilian looking.
I was going to say, it looked like in the trailer when we saw him, it looked like he was like a salamander. He was walking on the wall, coming down behind.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
Yeah. So, this is his official return to canon, I guess, from the EU. So it's kind of cool to see that, obviously, for me, because I read he's in the first set of books that they ever did. Can't remember the name of them now. Escapes me at the moment. People will be yelling at me. But anyway, it's kind of cool to see that, obviously. But yeah, I even put in my notes he could be described as a bounty hunter. So he's ordered to capture Hera, which I think is kind of interesting. Do you think he'll be successful against her?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, because I think eventually the battle is going to be Ezra and Kanan versus Thrawn.
Okay.
So you're going to see Ezra and Kanan go to save Hera.
Like if he takes on a personal meaning outside of just the grand, rebellion.
Okay, that's cool. Do you think? I think that he might engage more directly with the rebels than Thrawn will. I think to keep Thrawn, from shaking his fist at the rebels, escape every time.
You essentially have a lackey in his place.
Yeah, kind of in his place.
Yeah, I think that was one of the issues you had in the first seasons of Rebels, where you had I can't think of his name.
You talking about
the guy who became the spy?
Callus.
Yeah. Like you look at the first 2 seasons of Rebels, that's essentially Callus, and you don't really want to put Thrawn in the same position.
Another big thing in the trailer that stuck out to me is you hear Kanan start to repeat Yoda's teaching to Ezra way back in season 2 when he said, "It's not whether we fight, it's and then Kanan says it's not whether we fight, and then Ezra, says, "I know it's not how we choose to fight that matters. I know, Kanan, maybe we're choosing the wrong way." Meaning, has Ezra finally learned what Master Yoda was trying to tell him in season 2 and so long ago?
I actually think that he says that after he sees a lot of stuff being like he sees the Empire winning.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So he's thinking, we're losing. Maybe we're choosing to do it the wrong way. This could be where your partial dark side turn comes into play because we're not winning. We're doing this with the light side of the Force, and we're not winning. But if we did it with the dark side, I know we could win, kind of thing.
Okay.
So maybe we're doing it the wrong way.
Okay.
That's one thing too.
Aaron, what do you think? Because I think it could also mean that Ezra wants, like Brian's saying, wants to abandon the Jedi path and maybe fight more like Saul Guerrero, maybe?
Either that or this might take place after kind of working with Saul Guerrero and actually seeing how extreme he took the situation and kind of more just transferring to a path that seems like it fits him better.
Okay. I could see that. I could see that. That's possible. That maybe he wants to go his own way. Maybe. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about that we see in this trailer is the introduction of the Lothal Wolf. You see pictures of a Lothal wolf pack. You see a leader of the wolf pack, which is a lone white wolf. You see Ezra and Sabine riding on the white wolf. And last year at Star Wars Celebration, at this official Star Wars Rebels panel where Filoni, he made the big announcement that season 4 is the last season. Right before it, they always show a preview clip of Rebels, but right before that, the whole time he's taking questions, he's wearing a shirt that says Ahsoka lives ? When the lights come back up from this, suddenly the shirt changes from Ahsoka lives ? To Ahsoka lives ! That being the case, and that that Dave Filoni is synonymous with the wolf. He actually has his own like Star Wars club called the Wolf Pack. In the fact that he, that's kind of his thing, and that he's very partial to Ahsoka, and in that, in fact, later on, he in a different panel he said that she will be back. Essentially, just flat out said that they may not be totally done with Ahsoka. That was his words.
Yeah,
maybe. It just makes me wonder if this is Dave's way of maybe not so much that the wolf is Ahsoka, but maybe Ahsoka is using the wolf or is controlling the wolf per se. No,
I think that's reaching.
Okay, well,
because we haven't seen Ahsoka mind meld or however you want to call it, like Ezra does with animals.
Okay, all right.
So I don't see a connection there with Ahsoka and the wolves.
Okay.
As much as I do see what you talked about earlier with the animals representing the different stages of Ezra's abilities.
Okay. Aaron, what do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you actually see Ahsoka pop up, but I don't necessarily think she is one of the wolves or is controlling them. Maybe related to them in some way, but I don't think it's in like a controlling sort of fashion like you see Ezra use.
Okay. Because he had this, basically he's taking an old idea that he had from the Clone Wars and he's putting it in Rebels like we've seen before. Because at a panel 2 years ago, which I think was it was all about Ahsoka, and the last thing he had like sketches of was her encountering this large wolf and using this large wolf because she was being hunted down by Order 66, and this wolf comes and saves her, this large wolf. So now he's reintroducing this again.
Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if you actually see that being part of the storyline in some way. Like being reintroduced in the storyline.
Yeah. So he gets to fulfill that storyline.
Yeah, like it's actually, maybe you see like Ahsoka escaping from something in their past and actually uses the wolf to escape.
Okay.
Tries to actually reintegrate like the Clone War story into the Rebels
back into
storyline.
Rebels like he has been doing really from the get-go.
Like I could actually see that being very plausible.
Okay. I kind of think that she can control it, and I think it's kind of being like a spirit animal guide to Ezra in a way, which I think will eventually lead to Ahsoka in a way. Whether she can control it directly or not, I'm not sure. But I think eventually that's what will bring Ahsoka back. I think in what form Ahsoka comes back, I don't know. I don't think it's a wolf.
Do you think she'll be brought back just to die?
I think she's either they'll either bring her back alive fully, so they come, or as a Force ghost, or going back to that whole Clone Wars arc, the whole Clone Wars arc of Mortis, the Mortis arc, which I talked about to you guys past, come back as one of those, as the light side Force wielder, because the brother, the sister, and the father, and the sister basically got killed, and right before she died, saved Ahsoka. So I've always thought that was the way Dave was leaning to bring her back, with some sort of this Force wielder, kind of like this, not necessarily Force ghost, not exactly alive either, but kind of sort of a
something like an entity,
like a higher form of existence in the Force, so to speak, or entity. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'd be interesting. So I can't wait to see it. Actually, I'm going to throw this in here too. Now I'm thinking about it real quick. Dave has even said, when they, in other interviews that I've read online, he's like, what I'm trying to kind of think about is, and he actually threw Lord of the Rings in there. He said, when Gandalf dies fighting the monster,
how he's reborn as Gandalf the White.
The White, yeah. He said, I'm thinking along the same things, like he died and then he gets sent back. He said that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but there's like a really complicated process of Gandalf the Grey, like in the Lord of the Rings universe.
Oh yeah,
like he's actually like part of an older entity race sort of thing, and so is the creature that kills him, I think. Yeah,
I forget the name of the. I just call it a demon, but
yeah, like it's almost like he's a different version of himself, sort of thing. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
That's kind of.
I can't remember the details of it.
Kind of what he's going with Ahsoka, kind of, except through the Force.
Yeah.
Like the Force sends her back, kind of like the will of the Force, light sides, etc. But just throwing all that out there. All right, Kanan and Hera. The other thing this trailer kind of brings up is Kanan kind of questions Hera about how much she is doing for the rebellion, and have you ever how much is enough? You know,
because she's pretty much all in at this point, and that kind of leaves out any possibility of any sort of life together outside of the rebellion.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder if she's ever even really, because she says, well, I've never really thought about it. So she's been so caught up that their relationship has always been on the side burner, and she's never really done anything about it.
Kind of pretty much from the time you're introduced to them, they're kind of working for the rebellion more towards the edges and just kind of getting closer and closer to the center as it's gone on.
Right.
So, yeah, it could be one of those things like just living in a war zone her entire life. It always seemed natural to her to be in a war zone.
There you go. I didn't think about it like that. Man, I could see that. Brian, what do you think?
I'm not sure. It almost, to me, it almost feels like Kanan wants out.
Out of the rebellion?
Like he's had enough. He's lost his eyesight. He just wants it to be him and Hera kind of just going off on their own.
Wants to retire.
Yep. Well, that's what I gathered from it.
Yeah. I think it kind of makes sense with the season coming to an end that they address what they've seen. Like we've seen glimpses of these two kind of, flirting with each other. She calls him love, blah, blah, blah. But
I mean, even when, he meets her dad, it's like
he's real nervous.
It's like a thing about it.
Yeah, it's like a boyfriend meet the father for the first time. It just seems, it seems like to me from Hera's point of view, she loves him, but she's just too busy to do anything about it. Because she's so, that's her life.
Not only was she kind of like running the ship at the beginning of the show, but then they became running a large part of the rebellion.
We know from Rogue One that her and Chopper survive. So that makes me wonder, will they finally commit fully, only to have Kanan die, like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, or will it just die in the friend zone, only to have Hera realize what she's lost? If Kanan does bite the big one. What do you guys think?
I actually think she's pretty committed to the relationship from the get-go, to be honest. Like,
Okay.
it's despite it never being completely on the screen about it, it's always suggested that it's, a semi-romantic relationship.
Well, I think it's a romantic. I just don't know how far they've taken it because maybe they just don't have the time.
Yeah. But no, I think she's actually more or less committed to the relationship, and it's a question of whether that becomes a death flag for Kanan or whether that you just see him kind of retire to the background kind of thing.
I just don't see him, out of all the rebels, I don't see him surviving. I just don't see him at such the level of Jedi that he is and what he is to Ezra and to Hera and to... I don't know. I just... And the other thing that sticks out in my head is the whole Yoda line to, once we get to Jedi, to Luke, once gone am I, the last of the Jedi will you be? So...
Because you can make an argument Kanan borderlines on being a Jedi Knight at this point. So,
well, he's been knighted at this point, so by Yoda, kind of in disguise, but so. So yeah, it's a weird line to retcon. It'd be very hard to retcon unless Yoda somehow loses connection with him in the Force somehow. Yeah. So I don't know, Brian. What do you think about all this?
Well, I think if he does retire and he's not a Jedi anymore.
They just stops using the Force. That Yoda,
he just retires his lightsaber.
Yoda just loses connection with him.
Like he's not part of the Force anymore, so Yoda can't actually, sense him out there. I don't know, something like that maybe. And also, in Rogue One, and we know that Hera and Chopper are there, but we don't know who's on the ship still. So Kanan could still technically be on the ship while they're there.
Yeah.
And, they're just there getting supplies or whatever. So we don't really know who all is on the ship while it's there. And my other thing is, we don't actually know for sure that that's when this ends. Like, we don't know if it goes a little past that and we get to see part of the battle from Rogue One.
Right. Scarif, yeah.
In Rebels. Because we don't know if it comes and it butts straight up against it, or if it goes off to the side and they connect loosely on the side. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. So if Kanan does survive, how do you think they handle it going forward? We kind of talked about it a bit.
I think if he survives, the series ends. Either way.
The series is ending no matter what. It just depends on who goes, who stays.
Well, I'm just saying it could be a thing like they don't necessarily have to say. They don't have to say what he does going forward if he survives.
Right.
Because that's something you could pick up down the line if you want to, or you could just let it go. Like, there's no real reason to give closure to the situation if you don't have to.
Well, that's true. I can see fans like me going, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just like you look at the ending to, like, say, Rogue One, where it's all very, permanent, but it's pretty much any character you had built up, then you kind of like just wiped away. So, I mean, it's a good ending for it. Probably the ending's the best bit of Rogue One, but anything you had in that just is kind of gone.
Gotcha. So that brings me to another point from the trailer, and that is Ezra says, all the paths are coming together, right? And Kanan just kind of shoots back at him and goes, I'm not sure if we like where they're going to lead or where they lead.
It's kind of a foreboding sort of thing.
It's very ominous. Kanan's not exactly very, very optimistic at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is before, the beginning of the Death Star. It's, if you have an authoritarian government that has the ultimate, weapon to wipe out planets, yeah, that's fair. It's not necessarily an optimistic time.
I mean, do you guys think it could mean the all paths coming together could mean the Rebel Alliance finally coming together behind them? I mean, it could be a positive thing. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it could be that, or Ezra could be referring to the extremists in the Rebels. All paths are coming together.
Yeah, under one flag.
But then then Kanan says, yeah, but we might not like where they lead, meaning that there actually could be a battle between the two.
They might not actually how the alliance is turning out.
Right.
Do you guys think it could mean also that in the process of trying to free Lothal from the Empire, and that they think that there's their destiny, but maybe there's an unexpected cost for the freedom of Lothal in some
It's
way.
always a possibility.
Like maybe it does bring the Death Star to Lothal, even though
Yeah, essentially in their attempts to free Lothal from the Empire's like, this is a good testing site. Fuck that planet.
Yeah, let's do a second test. We just used it. Let's do it again.
Could very well be.
You know, I don't know. It seems more dark than it does light. That whole scene.
I mean, I'd be fascinated if that's the route they go with it. Like if they more or less choose the end of the season just to go as dark as possible,
yeah,
it would be fascinating.
Yeah, it would be fascinating. I don't know. I don't know if it being a kids show.
Yeah, that's why it's weird, right?
Yeah,
like, how dark are you going to take it for Disney?
There's got to be some silver lining in there somewhere. I don't think you can kill them all off. Well, we know Hera and Chopper survived, so maybe that's the silver lining.
Oh yeah, but like it could just be character lost and or died off screen.
Yeah,
things happen.
Well, the other thing is the two main characters in this, and I always thought it was Ezra, but it's actually Ezra and Sabine are kind of the two main characters in this whole series.
Yeah,
and
which kind of makes sense because they're probably the ones closest to the age range it's marketed to.
And I didn't realize that when the series first started, but I've obviously come to know that now. And Filoni just doesn't like killing off his characters. Ahsoka is the is the prime example. So I just wonder if that continues. You know,
you can't save them all.
If you find some way to keep those three plus Hera and Chopper, I don't know. I think Kanan's dead.
You're just like Kanan's the sacrifice.
Write him off. He's gone. If he survives, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah,
happily surprised, but I'll be surprised. Anyway, all right. Since this is kind of like a season preview show, they have released the first 6 episode titles. So episodes 1 and 2 are the Heroes of Mandalore, part 1 and 2, which will be together come this Monday, October 16th. Kind of seems like we're picking right up where we left off with season 3 ended, because Sabine's like, I like to return to the favor, let's go to Mandalore and help them. And she's like,
yeah, that makes sense.
You can.
Honestly, if they go through like the entire Mandalorian bit just in 2 episodes, I'd be actually really surprised by that.
Yeah, in
fact,
fact,
I'd have to assume they come back to the Mandalore Civil War at some point.
I would hope so, because I mean, Brian and I were both hoping kind of for a spin-off to be just the Mandalorian Civil War. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had talked about it, and there was talk of Filoni being part of something new.
Yeah, something new coming down the pipeline.
And we were kind of hoping that it would have been like the Mandalore, Boba Fett, that kind of stuff. See that kind of aspect of the battles between the different houses of Mandalore and that kind of things. I would have much rather seen that coming, but I mean, the way it looks here almost feels like they're going to do the Mandalorian War in 2 episodes.
Yeah.
It's almost like, on the CW where they did the Flash and they did Flashpoint in an episode and a half.
Yeah, we're all like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping there's more to it too, Aaron. I really am.
Yeah.
And Brian. We'll see. Episodes 3 and 4, In the Name of the Rebellion, parts 1 and 2. That'll be the following week on the 23rd. Again, 2 episodes together. Obviously related. My only guess here is we get to see Yavin 4.
Like it's actually going with it's transitioning away from the Mandalorian Civil War to actual dealing with Thrawn and the Empire again.
So they meet back up with Hera, because what I think happens is Kanan, Ezra, Sabine go to Mandalore, and then while Hera goes on to Yavin 4, because that's where she says she's going at the end of season 3, and then they meet back up with her.
Well, it could be interesting if they actually do it from like a certain character perspective. Like if you're more or less just following Kanan or Ezra, and you have them fighting with the Mandalorian Civil War, circling back into the rebellion against the Empire, and then you have both things happening simultaneously while you have a almost personal journey in order to have improve themselves to actually deal with the situation better.
There you go. Brian, this might be where your theory comes in, where she feels like Sabine has to go back to the rebels to fulfill her promise and stuff. So could happen here. Episodes 5 and 6, which also October 30th, right before Halloween. It's called The Occupation.
So essentially, we're having 6 episodes in 3 weeks.
Yes. So, and they're like arcs. So obvious, except for 5 and 6, I don't know if they're tied in. At least the first 4 episodes, 1 and 2 go together, 3 and 4 go together. So we're getting basically.
Well, if they're putting them in the same day, it would make sense. It would follow the pattern.
Yeah, usually they try to keep the arcs together on the same day, but still, and the fact that 5 and 6 are on the same day could mean that they're related as well.
Well, that and I mean, episode 5 is the occupation, followed by
Flight of the Navigator,
Flight of
Defender.
The Defender.
So I mean, I could see that being something that kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah, when it comes to episode 5, occupation to me just says return to Lothal. What do you guys think?
You could choose another planet that's like a manufacturing planet, but Lothal seems like it'd be the better choice for the larger narrative.
Yeah, maybe this is where they find out how bad things have gotten, obviously.
So the occupation to me reminds me of, hazards of the job. It comes with a job title.
Yeah.
So the occupation, it kind of seems to me like this might be where we get, Hera fully into the rebellion, or this is where Mon Mothma takes over the rebellion and says, we're going to unite. That's the occupation. She's taking control of that.
Okay. Well, that could be. That's an interesting, that's a different take. I guess I just took the literal interpretation, just went occupation, okay. It kind of sounds like a military. Brings up feelings of the Empire anyway.
Yeah, especially after you're like just following in the name of the rebellion.
Yeah, but that's a good take, Brian. That I could definitely see Filoni doing that.
Well, that's why I was following with in the name of the rebellion. Which we all come together or whatever by the end of episode second part with the occupation. Well, this comes with the territory. This is your occupation.
I mean, or if we're going to go with that route, why not just go ahead and just have that being the assassin episodes? That's the assassin going to, take Hera.
Well, that could be. It could very well be that's when they introduce Rook. By the way, as a side note, Rook is being voiced by Warwick Davis, a.k.a. The main character in Wicket. Is it? Is it Wicket? No.
You're
he
thinking
plays
Willow.
Willow. Thank you. The main character Willow. He does also play Wicket, though, the Ewok in Return of the Jedi. Just side note.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't he also have a small role in Rebels, or not Rebels, but Rogue One?
Yeah, he did. I can't remember now. He was a background character. He's also in Phantom Menace. He's in the crowd.
Yeah.
He
was also the Leprechaun in the Leprechaun film as well.
Yes, I'm the Leprechaun. So episode 6 is Flight of the Defender. In my typical Star Wars fashion, I often get into these things, and I kind of went looking on online to see what I could find, did a little research. So here's what I came up with. And I could be way off base here, or I could be dead on. The Defender, when I looked it up online in Wikipedia, and other Star Wars sites, the Defender was a Venator class Star Destroyer back during the Clone Wars on the Republic Navy. Was destroyed at the Battle of Ryloth, which is also Hera's homeworld. It was commanded by Anakin Skywalker at the time. And I did a little bit more digging in the EU, and then when I looked up the Defender, in an old Republic game, there was a Jedi-class Defender cruiser. So I know our audience out there can't see, but if you look at the two, you'll notice that there's some similarities, at least in the paint job, and kind of in the, I don't know, maybe the textures. I could definitely see the Defender being built maybe out of the wreckage of the Defender. Possibly, maybe, of the Star Destroyer if it wrecked itself on Ryloth. And suddenly we're back on Ryloth for some reason. Hera's home planet. I could see them building this ship, since Filoni really likes to put EU ships and stuff, old ships, back into canon.
I mean, possibly, but it does seem like a very different sort of ship in terms of the design.
Well, maybe. Now, to me, the engines...
I mean, that could be partially angle.
And this is just me being the Star Wars geek. The engines look like the engines on the back look like the engines off of that you would find on that particular Star Destroyer.
Okay.
The airlocks are more reminiscent of I'll admit, aren't. Could be like Escape.
It looked like the Millennium Falcon.
Escape Pod, or is more like the Millennium Falcon or the Ghost.
Well, that's the other thing I was going to say. I wonder if the flight of the Defender is actually the Ghost Rex on Ryloth.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they combine pieces of both ships to get back into the battle.
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that.
Because if you look at it, it looks like the back end of that thing is the Ghost.
Yeah.
And the front end of it could be the other ship.
So they create a new ship for the last season
to get off of the island, off the planet where they were maybe left to die or something. You know what I mean? Like, we've taken all the supplies off this planet. Blah blah blah.
Well, it could be.
So it becomes the flight of the Defender.
I had never thought about that. It would be a bold choice to scrap the Ghost the last season too. But you're right; it does kind of look like the Ghost on the back, the back portion. Interesting. Good point, Brian. Good point. Very, very good point. All right, I think we have exhaustively looked at the trailer and talked about using it to kind of talk about a season 4 preview. Only thing left to do is to just talk about final thoughts and grades. Yeah. So final thoughts and grades. Aaron, final thought and grade on the season 4 preview upcoming, or just maybe just your thoughts even.
Okay, because I don't feel like I can actually grade it just from the trailer. So
okay, that's fair. So just what do you think's going to happen? What's your best guess?
I think we're going to jump around quite a bit between the Mandalorian War and the actual Rebellion. We're definitely going to have kind of a growth arc for both Kanan and Ezra. But to be honest, after maybe 8 episodes into it, it could go in a completely different direction in how it wants to approach it. Okay. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if all we've seen is maybe in the first 8 to 10 episodes. Maybe even not even that. Okay. So I think you'll probably see continuing issues with Thrawn going forward, and at some point the show has to decide how it wants to kind of end. And you kind of have to kind of wrap things up and kind of go in that general direction, whether you want characters to live off in the distance, get destroyed out in a war, or maybe even go into Rogue One and kind of show how that interplayed together. But I think it's really up in the air how they want to do that.
Okay. I think that season 4 is it could be the best season. Obviously, you can say otherwise, but so far, the whole series, it could be the best season ever for Rebels, and there's been some really good ones, especially the end of season 2 is probably so far the highlight of the series. I think we're going to see it's all about Journey's End. It's about past. It's about consequences of choices made and where we're going to end up and how we're going to get there. And I think you could still see Ezra turn to the dark side. That's very possible. I still think Kanan's a dead man. I'm not sure what they'll do with Zeb, honestly. I think he could easily be a character that they kill off, unfortunately. It's a character they really haven't fleshed out, unfortunately. They did a little bit, but not enough. In my opinion, I think he's underutilized. Chopper, well, we know Chopper survives with Hera. It would just be interesting to see how Thrawn plays into all of it, what kind of demise Thrawn goes through, and because he's not in Episode 4, he's not in Empire Strikes Back, and he's not in Jedi, so yeah, he has to be defeated, and he has to be defeated fairly good and kind of go away before he comes back. They decide to bring him back at all. So a lot of questions to be answered, but I think season 4 is going to be very interesting. I like the fact that we're getting all these story arcs together. We're going to get a lot more Rebels, at least at first. Hopefully that continues, because I really like that idea. Brian?
Well, I mean, we've been talking for a while that we wanted longer episodes. However, I don't want the longer episodes to technically be 2 episodes. It's already going to be a shortened season, and now you're making it even shorter by giving us 2 episodes, quote unquote, for every week.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a bit closer to a binge watch, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm not sure I like that aspect of it. I do like the fact that we're going to get more at one time.
Yeah.
But I don't like the fact that it's actually going to shorten the amount of weeks we actually get new episodes.
Okay.
I think we might actually see Ezra versus Vader.
Yeah, that could very well happen.
And I actually, the more I think about it, I was saying, we might see Ezra, go off on his own or whatever. And I said we might actually see Ezra die. We might actually see Vader take out Ezra and take out Ahsoka and take out Kanan, and just to further put that Vader is this all-powerful guy, just put it out there, you know what I mean? Like, because we saw it in Rogue One.
Yeah.
And I think we might see the beginning of it here, where we see him just slaughter these guys. Not before they do some kind of heroic thing to maybe unify the rebels. You know what I mean? Like
sacrifice.
I think that might come into play.
Okay.
I don't know. My hopes are not very high for this season, just because of the fact we already know it's going to end.
Right. But how will it end?
Right. And it's one of those, and I really hope that they tie a bunch of it in
to Rogue One,
but leave a few things open for like we talked about, maybe a spin-off.
Right.
Or we see them go in a parallel to the rebellion kind of thing, so we can see...
It's a big galaxy.
Right, so we can see them... Off doing something else, and we maybe can pick them back up in one of our new Star Wars or whatever. They get transmissions from Star Wars or Return of the Jedi, or
right,
you
see it,
and there's that loose connection there, so we know basically what time frame they're in. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's you bring up a couple points, and one would be that in this trailer there is no dark side threat shown anyway. So no Force dark side. So yeah, it would be nice to see Vader. And usually these trailers, it's usually the first part. So I think this is maybe only over 6 to 8 episodes. Maybe.
Oh, I don't even think it's that much. I think it's probably my guess is it's the first two
arcs,
mini arcs.
Okay.
So the first 4 episodes.
Yeah, the first 4 episodes. Because last time we thought that we're like, oh my god, this season's going to be great. We're going to get all this stuff because they showed us all in the trailer. And here it was the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And we're like, holy crap. And then we get the trailer for the after part, and it was basically the same thing. It wasn't the whole end of it. It was like the next episodes. And it was all different pieces in the next episodes.
The one thing I am happy about, though, with even if it is a shortened season, and even if we are getting, more at once, is I'm hoping there's not going to be any dead time. There's not going to be any droids singing in space.
Right.
You're kind of hoping with the last season Game of Thrones one, essentially.
Yeah, that's
where you just bam, hit all the notes.
Yes, and just
no down episodes where we're trying to find out about characters.
Right, at the same time. It just hits and it hits and it hits and it hits. That's what I'm hoping for. So, I don't know. We'll see. Real quick, though, speaking of hits, where can you find 4 Midwest Guys? Well, it's real simple. You go to the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. Again, that's the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. One more time, the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. There you can get links to our Podbean, to our iTunes, to our Facebook, Twitter, YouTube accounts. You can follow, like, subscribe there, but you can also check out all of our podcasts there. They're in chronological order, or if you go up to the top of the links, they're all categorized. So if you just like Star Wars Rebels, you click Star Wars Rebels. If you like Game of Thrones, we actually have 2 different podcasts for that one. They're all there. It's all categorized. One-stop shop, the number 4 MidwestGuys.com. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man.
Aaron, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is B. Willie saying, may the Force be with you.